Oh, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever you are. We are starting one more session of Out of the Box Developer. I'm here with Pedro and Manny. Hey Pedro, hey Manny, how are you guys?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
I'm good too, Hugo. Thanks for having us here today.
Great,
Yes,
great.
likewise. Good to be here again.
So how have been your weeks your week? I think actually we are starting now, right? Today is Monday, but how was the last week? So I think we had a lot of things happening, and Bruno also he's traveling around the world now, around Europe actually, right?
hmm
And visiting a lot of Java user groups and there I see a lot of posts on Twitter, and he's sharing a lot, making a lot of wonderful things. I think fun, having fun time. I'm jealous of his state. Yeah, sometime I hope to be as him. So,
So he's going to be
come on, were you able to meet Bruno already, or he haven't yet?
no.
Uh,
So he will come to the UK only on the second or third week of July, and I saw in his schedule to be confirmed. So I don't know which date it is. So roughly, it's around the middle of July. He's going to be here, but I think he's touring somewhere now, in Germany or Portugal or Spain. Can't remember what his itinerary is. I think he shared a link somewhere. So I'm hoping he joins us tonight. If not, we'll have to do without him. If not, we'll have to probably hear him as a community member, sharing his comments and in the pool there. But we'll see. You never know. Bruno might just sign in. He'll surprise us. I'm sure he knows our event is going on. Good. So, what are we doing today, Hugo? You're driving, so you're going to let us know.
Oh yeah, okay. If he shows up here, definitely I'll put it here on the stream. And if you are listening us and you are somewhere in Europe, maybe you can take a look on Bruno's Twitter to see where he is, because everywhere he goes, there's a lot of people there, interesting people that you can meet and share or have nice connection and to talk about your career, your challenges, and also share your knowledge. So yeah, take a look there. I think it's at BR Javaman, right? Let me just put here.
Exactly. And we have here as well in LinkedIn that our podcast is being streamed to Bruno's account here in LinkedIn as well. And if you have any comments, you can post there if you're seeing uh, the live indication when we are live. But we are live not only on Bruno's account, but we are live in So Java account. We are live at the Out of the Box Developer itself channel. We are live. We are live in Manny's channel in YouTube, and we are live in my channel in YouTube. So I think you cannot say, "Oh, I can't find Out of the Box Developer. Where you're streaming, man." So you
Yeah,
will be find
we're
us
streaming all
in
across
many
the board.
places.
You can think of a
Exactly.
channel and we're streaming there.
That's the idea. So if you
Oh
wanna comment anything, please you can go anywhere and we can find your comment.
yeah, and share here if you have any questions that you want to know more about. You want to ask here. We have a lot of specialists now, and yeah, last session we have been discussing a lot about AI tools for development, right? That is available on open source, and on this whole exercise, we end up with a nice mind map that Money was driving here. I wish to share the mind map. Let me share the, uh, let me share
I just shared the tweet which has the mind map on it, so
yeah,
that'll be fun to share with everybody. But
Okay,
today's
Oh
here.
yeah.
is slightly different, even if it's the exact same mind map. It's a different application we are using. So we will find out, and I'll also post a image of that mind map on.
Really?
Yep, today's mind map is a copy of previous time's mind map. So we couldn't use Miro for more than 2 weeks, and so the mind map had to be exported. Actually, I copied and pasted the components from that mind map into the new one. So even though it's conceptually the same mind map, the new software actually lays it out slightly differently and looks much neater.
Mm.
I think we end up with this is a result of the last session we had.
Yeah,
Uh, a lot of. I'm trying to
yeah.
zoom in
Unfortunately,
and
it's
pay.
hard to zoom. It's hard to zoom
Yeah,
photos
it
like
is.
that in Twitter, but we'll have a better view of it in the XMind software that we are using. Um,
Okay,
Also, we
and
are planning to expand on the two other tentacles that we couldn't the last time: AI and tools, not tools, sorry, AI and open source.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's also think about that and get the audience involved in communicating
okay.
with us.
And Moni, you said that you want to go deeper here, right? You want to explore
Yes,
some
yes.
of
Open
branches.
source, open source, and the AI sections, because we spent a lot of time on tools last time, and I think tools
Mhm. If you
is
can
become
see,
quite extensive. If you agree,
this is the
it's
left
got,
side of
yeah.
this.
We
Yeah,
can go endlessly with all kinds of other tools, but I think if you do 40 to 60% of that tool list, you have covered a lot of ground, right?
I
And there are
think.
many more tools to know, but they are not as regular. They may not be as regularly used. And if you still think there are many tools, or some tools, or a few tools that we've missed out, then please let us know through social media, and we'll add them to the list, because these are the tools we could think of off the top of our head. And when you can't remember a tool, that means you've not been using it that often.
Yeah.
Statistically, you can say that. Obviously, everybody's got different choices and suites of tools they use. So we might have missed something. So I'm not going to say our list is perfect, but that's quite an extensive list actually, if you go to
Mm-hmm.
see. And if you know, as I said, 40 to 60% of the items on that list, then you're quite proficient in this field, because most of the time we're using most of these tools that we've mentioned here.
And this is
Yeah,
important, right? Because we don't want to have an extensive list or all the tools we have in the world,
Exactly.
but just the ones we are actually using. So this
Yeah,
is
yeah. So for example, the center node of the mind map says AI, open source, and tools. So what we are trying to focus here is, if you had to be involved in all of these three in a combination, what are the things you would need to know in each of those combinations or subsets or combinations of AI and open source, or AI and tools? And in that sense, you don't need to know everything, and you cannot know everything. You just need to know the things that are more regularly used, or more widely used, or more commonly used among different groups. And if you look at our list, it's you'll be able to relate to many items on that list, because it has been sourced through all of us in this channel here on this group just now, and also our audience who have been very generous and collaborative with us.
yeah. I'm sorry. I'm having difficult time here to navigate here to show you guys in the best way. This mind map, maybe money. If you can start sharing your mind map, so you actually are able to edit
Yep,
it. Yeah,
I
maybe
can do
it's
that.
better for our audience. While that,
Yep,
if you guys can, if you are watching us and can say a quick hello and tell us from where you are, it would be great so we can also interact with you and direct also this discussion to be better for you. So I'm exchanging here. I see money you shared your screen, right?
yeah, I just shared. So
Yeah.
so that's our new
mm,
that's the same mind map. It has just been laid out differently by this tool, but if you see, the content is the same. It has color coded the mind map components very well, so it has given, and I can change the color codes. But you can see this is a lot more legible, and I can move around much easily, and I can zoom. This tool is called XMind. My mentee actually researched it and was using it for a project, and now shared it with me. So I'm using the same
Mhm.
thing. Now this is a free version, but you can end up creating a lot of different sheets, as it's called here. And in each sheet, you can have different mind maps. So this one is our AI open source and tools sheet.
Can you repeat
As
the
you,
name of of
it's called.
this tool?
If you want to go to the website, it's called xmind.org works. I can share the link in the chat so everybody can go there. They have a desktop app and they have a web-based app. The desktop app is really good, but the web-based app is equally good. And then you can create these and share with different people. It's just like Google Docs, but slightly less sophisticated. The focus is more on creating good mind maps and sharing with the audience or with your community.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you can and unlike
XMind
the other
works.
mind map, you can export it into an XMind file or an image file if you're able to see the menu.
They are the same when the same one we can install from the Microsoft from the stores, right? I installed the
Yes,
next Mind from Microsoft Store here,
yeah,
and
it's the
it
same XMind.
looks the same. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same XMind. But you could also download it from their website if at all you feel that the one you're looking at is not the correct one. But they're
Perfect.
quite universal, so they've created this app, and they're using the same logic or engine to power their web app. I
Mhm.
find it's quite intuitive and slick and easy to move around, and the look and feel is really nice and neat. I like this mind map; it's very neat. I mean, mind maps don't need to be neat, but this one, like because if it's color coding and the way it's laid things out, it looks much neater.
Mhm.
So if I create an image out of this and share it with somebody, it also looks as nice as this what you're seeing on the screen here.
Perfect.
So
Hey,
we should
just a moment. We
mhm.
have a comment here. Our friend Wanda Pacheco.
Uh-huh.
It's saying "Salve." That says "Hello, guys," and in a very good Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. So, hey, Vander, what's up? Yeah, if you want to know something about it about the topic here, please say us in the comments, man.
Yes, absolutely,
You can send in Portuguese
absolutely.
if you want, and we can just translate
We
it
have
here.
two Portuguese experts here, so I'm
Yeah.
quite relaxed. I don't have to do any translations and get it wrong.
For sure.
Well, so Manny, how we can continue here? I think we are planning to go further with open sources, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Let's expand on open source a little bit, and then we can think if we need to expand more on the AI because AI can be another ocean. Whereas, and same with open source, but you can see open source we haven't done much here. So I'm wondering what would be the how would we want to start off with since we have only left with these. What are the other things we think can be put under the open source category that we can expand on? Maybe someone in the audience can help us out, or between the three of us we should be able to expand on this, right? I mean, there's so many things under the open source world that we can think of, but what are the open source things that we need to know to be involved in open source, right?
Hmm.
What would be so we considered GitHub, Java, GitLab, and maybe I can put GitLab. I'm not sure if I can. I'll try to move this and I'll put it around. Oh, so maybe what we can do is categorize what is GitHub and GitLab.
They
Version
are
control, right?
version control, yeah, like
Yeah.
uh, uh, open source repos.
CSV, CVS. Sorry. Yeah. Right. So we put that there. Yes. One thing we haven't considered licenses. We need to know about these licenses, right? You have restricted ones What else? You have liberal ones.
Yeah, if you can
And
say
then you
like
have
that.
in between as well, right? Can you think of any?
Hmm.
Like I
Yeah,
can think of restricted.
Maybe
I
What are the
remember that we
restricted
have
ones?
GNU restricted. I don't. It depends what you say about restricted, right? Like they say GNU licenses is they are. It depends. GNU. I don't remember which one. GNU version 2.
So okay, let's talk about
GPL. Don't remember.
liberal ones. Which are the liberal ones that come to your mind?
MIT,
GPL.
Apache.
Common creative, right? Creative
Common
Commons, sorry.
Creative. Oh, Creative
Creative
Commons.
Commons,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah. MIT. So I think Apache is close to liberal, but I thought Apache was in between.
Mm.
What else? There's a couple more under the liberal.
GPL.
Mm, well, there's GPL. I think GPL will be in between because there's GPL and the GPL with class path exception, right? I'm gonna put it in under.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm not sure.
I see Wonder mentioned here. He's a student at computer science
Mhm,
course. And
mhm.
which language are you using, Wonder, in your classes now?
Okay, and then we can continue.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at a website that says choosing the most restrictive online license. Hmm, interesting. So what are the ones that have been mentioned here? According to this, so there is this open source license 3.0. Okay, I can share the link here. So it's not like the all the details of all the restrictive, but it's interesting to see what
Mhm.
they mentioned there. Um,
Mm.
so GNU Affero, this is the one I was thinking of and I couldn't get the name. And there's European Union public license. I didn't know there was one, and that's restricted as well. So we can add those two if you want. What do you think about it? So there's GNU Afro,
Oh,
interesting, isn't it?
GNU
And then there's European
Afro.
Union.
Haven't heard about GNU Afro.
Yeah, it's not very popular because it's restricted. People don't use it.
Oh, yeah, but why it's that restricted? What makes it restrict?
Good. We'll have to look into the details of it. Well, for example, in depending on the license, they allow you to if you let me think of an example. You cannot modify the source code. You have to pay royalty. You cannot use it in commercial instances. It's only for academia. There are all those kinds of restrictions. I'm
Got
not
it.
saying those are the specific ones, but in general, the restrictions will be in those areas. So, like, think of what would be the liberal angle through which you would be able to use a license. Like, Creative Commons is the most liberal, right? It says
Mm-hmm.
you can modify the code, you can even sell it. I think they don't mind. In some
Mm-hmm.
instances, they'll ask you to do a citation, and you can still do everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are levels of liberal usage of licenses, and those levels, depending on what type of license use, is either high or low.
Oh, got it.
Oh, open
I
software
I, I,
license, never heard of it. Hmm.
I
Let's
remember
add that.
that that the Apache, for example, we can use is the most widely used, like for all libraries in Java, for example, they mostly use the Apache
Hmm.
because we can use the code, we can even change it
Yeah. So Apache is is it
in
still
commercial
considered
software.
liberal, or is it?
Sorry.
Would you consider Apache liberal, or would you consider in between? For some reason, I thought it was in between.
Um, as far as I understand, we can Apache is one liberal one because we can use that. We can use the software. We can change the software. We can sell it inside our commercial software.
Okay, so
Some,
let's
some,
move
some,
it to.
sometimes there is a license that you cannot put in your commercial software, or
Yeah,
if you put in your commercial software, your software must be open source as well.
yeah, yeah. That's and then there's royalty and citation and permission. There's so many things, right? So
Right.
okay, so let's come back to licenses again, and our viewers will definitely have some comments about it whilst they're watching. I'm not saying we've got this right,
Hmm.
but this is a tricky subject,
Yeah.
Yes, it
isn't
is.
it? Yeah.
I think there's a lot
We
of
need to
details. Yeah, but
we
yeah, that's a
need to
good
study a
thing to
little
have
more.
big overview
Mhm.
over of that. I think we can go to the Python. I feel very
Yeah, absolutely.
abandoned here in the mind map, and there's a lot of open sources there.
Yeah.
I see that pandas and NumPy is very
Panda,
famous.
NumPy, Flask, Django.
Flask,
So I was
Django,
thinking we start off
Django.
from their repository. What do you call it? Package distribution system.
PyPy, yeah.
Yeah. What others do we know of? We have PyPy, PyPy. Anything else we know of? There is poetry. Have you heard of this? This is the
Yeah.
new age.
Hmm. I
I mean,
use
I have
this.
had success and failures with poetry, but poetry can be tricky. But poetry is there to solve all the package dependency issues Python has been throwing at us. So,
Hmm. Andres Alcaraz is saying here, we need to invite an specialized lawyer for that. For the license.
uh,
Yeah,
You're
I
not
agree.
wrong, Andres.
in the absence in the absence of that, I think Bruno can save us a little bit, but I don't know. I think he knows quite a bit about this because he's been involved in the open source movement for quite some time. But yes, that's a great correct point there. We need to have an expert in that field. Um, okay, what else is open source?
I just
Um,
shared here also the. I think Wikipedia have a great table here with many licenses and
Comparison of free and
where to class each one.
open source
Yeah,
license. POS.
but yeah, let's keep going here. So Python. What else we can put here on Python libraries?
Libraries, right? Lots of it. Lots of important ones.
Yeah, we can do that. Libraries, packages, right?
Hmm.
Packages. Yeah,
Uh, frameworks. So I say packages and frameworks because sometimes it's hard to distinguish between them.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Well, as a library, I would put the NumPy, Pandas,
Yeah,
TensorFlow.
pandas, NumPy, TensorFlow, Matplotlib,
Matplotlib, exactly.
TensorFlow, PyTorch.
PyTorch,
Scikit-learn.
Yeah,
scikit-learn.
scikit-learn.
Yeah, I think we are getting to lots of things already.
Yeah,
I'm satisfied with the with the Python stuff.
so
If
if
you guys
Space is
who is hearing
yeah.
if you guys have already if you have anything that you miss here, please
Uh,
show it, tell in the comments.
yeah,
Yeah,
some web frameworks like Flask, Django,
Flask, yeah, that's
Flask
important.
API,
Flask,
but they're not
yeah,
libraries; they're frameworks.
SQL
Fast API
Alchemy.
replaces Flask and Django, not Django, but Flask for sure.
Yeah,
Django. Okay,
lots of.
so let's give it a little bit of rest and let's find some other angles to fill in. We did not mention
Spring
all the
framework.
nice ones. Quarkus. What do they come under? Frameworks, right?
Yeah.
Spring.
In Java.
Spring Framework, one of the most important ones.
Yeah. So Quark is what is Micronaut. So let's
So
go back to our original question, right? What are the items we want to list? The items we want to list are the ones we want people to know about because it's
Mm-hmm.
associated with open source tools and AI,
Mm-hmm.
something they should know about when they start that journey. So I'm thinking it's a good
For
idea, right?
Java. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for Java, for all this one winning. I would put Spring Framework. It's a very
Yeah,
important one
Spring.
and widely use it.
I'm tempted to put JBang and Jakarta under frameworks unless you have objections.
No, JBang. Yeah, we can.
JBang is actually quite a nice tool,
Yeah.
actually.
Mm-hmm. Jakarta is like lots of frameworks inside it. So
Mm. So it no longer is a library then, right? It's more a framework than a library.
what Jakarta?
Jakarta. I
Oh
mean, it's
yeah.
so many things. It's a specification. It can be a library, but it can also be a framework.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to classify it, right? So
Yeah.
okay, okay. So we're getting better. We're getting warmed up. And look, now the open source world is looking much more healthy. Is that right?
it's more balanced mind map.
Yeah, yeah. It's getting there. It's getting there because we still have a little bit more to do on the AI to make it balanced. Because you see, the biggest chunk is tools, and then if you compare tools with AI and AI and open source, then they're almost equivalent, which still means that there's room for growth in both tools and AI, right? So let's focus a
For
little
sure.
bit more on open source. Sorry, not tools, but in on open source and AI. So maybe focus a little bit more on open
Where
source.
in which part?
Yeah, good question. Is this
We
big
are
enough
just
for
talking
everybody?
about Java and Python. If you add the JavaScript word there, man, it's gonna grow.
Mm, good one. Good one.
Let's add the JavaScript there, and
What,
then we can add
what do
all
you
the
think to
many front end stuff.
yeah? But what do you think to move to AI so we can balance a little bit, and also
Mm-hmm.
we can start talking about about some tools that we have been preparing for today.
That's a
Mm-hmm.
We
very
are
good
talking about
point
one of
because
them here, right? Yep.
yeah,
Yeah,
we could
agree.
we could slide in from the AI topic to Hugo showing us his work that he's been doing in his free time. Semantic kernel, right?
Yeah, not just semantic kernel. I think you can already add the private GPT, right?
Mm-hmm.
Aha,
I think I have something
that's
to,
right.
Yeah, I can add the private GPT as well.
and
Is
it's
it called local
very
GPT or
No,
private
it's
GPT?
properties in it. Mm, yeah, local GPT, good.
Yeah. Okay. So let's revisit this and see if we can add some more things to it. Um
Mm-hmm.
I think there's one component that we haven't seen here,
Mm.
and I'm going to add it here: ethics and bias. This is a very broad topic, and it is very related to many of these things here, right?
All right. But I would add as well. Can I add like hugging faces, for example, would where it would be added here? Like hugging faces as a website where we can have lots of
So
models,
Hugging
open source
Face,
models, etc.
so Hugging Face is a very broad uh, brand, right? It does
Mm-hmm.
many things. One of the things it's doing is what it's doing with the LLMs and the models that's allowing you to host and build on top of. But if you look at Hugging Face, well, it's debatable. I wouldn't say they specialize in this. They're quite abroad, right? So maybe under LLMs you can put Hugging Face. But then what about Hugging Face, right? If I say Hugging
Yeah.
Face, what aspect of Hugging Face are we talking about here?
In this
So
case,
let's Google and see.
LLM Hugging Faces, right?
So,
Well,
so,
LLM
so
models for Hugging Faces, but
yeah.
because Hugging Faces is a community, so maybe we can put as a community sites in AI.
So yes, that's a good one. So I'm looking at Hugging Face's page, and they help you host and share models, data sets, and there's something called spaces,
Mm-hmm.
and the Hugging Face Hub is free, but you can also have a pro and enterprise account. So actually, would you say Hugging Face is like the GitHub of models? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there are many others who are like Hugging Face, right?
Right.
GitHub of the
Uh,
modeling world.
mm-hmm.
You had
That's
something else that you wanted to say about Hugging Face. What did you say? You were
uh,
talking about communities. That's right.
yeah. I was talking about community. Say Hugging Face is like a community for
Right.
for
Okay,
for
let's start
AI.
with Hugging Face. You're able to
But
see, right? It's
I remember that TensorFlow Hub. TensorFlow Hub is the same, right?
yes. Good point. TensorFlow Hub is so how what Hugging Face is doing. There's an overlap between TensorFlow Hub and Hugging Face from the model sharing perspective,
Mm-hmm. Model sharing,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. So TensorFlow Hub. What else? Communities can go endless. Let's start filling it in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Kaggle
Kaggle. Yeah,
is a
good one.
community, right?
Mm-hmm, for sure. And you,
Yeah.
this one,
Really
you know very
powerful.
well, like many.
It can be.
it it just came to my mind just now, but yeah, you're right. I'm spending quite a bit of time there. Okay, there's more.
For sure. I don't.
What about communities started by IBM, Red Hat, Microsoft, Google? What are the other AI companies?
mm, don't know.
Our audience is silent today. Our audience is not saying much. What's going on
No.
in the um LinkedIn world?
Yeah, here in the LinkedIn, Andres Alcahar's comment, but he had a comment for before.
Mhm.
Comment about GitHub. GitHub qualifies as an open source, or is it a closed source tool that can be used to develop a word open source software?
So GitHub started off with open source, but they are also supporting closed source and private repositories
Mm-hmm.
because that's how the world operates. Not everybody wants to open source their company secrets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody wants to be like, uh, for example, if you see some of the things some companies like Buffer.com does, not every company wants to do like that. And obviously, proprietary work is not going to be made open source. But there are companies that are purely open source, but they will still have private repositories, right? If they have to have um, well, of course that's the wrong example to give, but if they want to store infrastructure details of their infrastructure, they're not going to make it open source. They want to keep a lot of that closed source, right?
Mm-hmm.
uh, Open source is applicable where they want to share it with the community and have contributions from the community. Where
Yeah.
it is very specific to their core business, which is
Mm-hmm.
not open source necessarily open sourceable, they will
Yeah.
keep it closed source. So
And
hence,
he's
yeah, go on.
commented that he's commented that GitHub itself is not open source, like
No,
the GitHub code.
no, the code is not open source, of course not. Yes.
GitLab is, right?
Or is
I,
GitLab code open source?
I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Oh, but
I see.
GitLab, we can install a GitLab
Uh,
totally. We can download
cool.
it.
Interesting. So you can spin off your own instance of GitLab in your on-prem,
Yeah, we can.
and but is it in par with the commercial GitLab? Is it the same
Uh,
code, or do the commercial GitLab has some
good,
additional
good
enhancements?
question.
Yeah.
Good question. I don't know.
So maybe it is open source, but the commercial version of that software has got additional layers that you need
Mm-hmm.
to be an enterprise or a paid member
Mm-hmm.
to have access to. It's similar
Yeah,
to
maybe.
what many open source companies are giving, right? The
Mm-hmm.
value added services plus an additional layer of functionality
Mm-hmm.
that you would have to pay for.
For
I'm
sure.
not sure I'm saying this correct, because literally speaking, every company has got some layer of privatization or something that they'll keep away from the open source community.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if there is one that only you pay for the value added service, which is consultancy, but you don't
Mm-hmm.
pay for the software because it's open source.
Ah, got it.
Yeah, we can think
Yeah.
of many in the open source world, right? Like I don't know if you're following Play. What is it? Uh, Payara,
Yeah.
Mm.
or even Tommy software. What is it? The Tomcat software.
Tomcat.
The whole ecosystem of Tomcat software. That there are developers who develop it in the open source, but if you want to build something with it, you got to use their expertise to build it, right? So you pay for the value added services, but the whole
Yeah.
software is open source. The
Mm.
thing is that even if it's open source, if you don't have the expertise, you don't know which components to put together to build what you want to build, right? You have to learn that. So that's where the value
Mm-hmm.
differentiator is.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's a
so
business model they use. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
it's a
Yeah,
different
and
model.
Andrews is just saying here that GitLab has a commercial part of it. You can
Hmm.
install it on premise as well,
Hmm.
but the commercial part is not open source.
Yeah, thought so. But the commercial part is built on top of the open source part, and the open source part is a step or two behind, or many steps behind, depending what the
Mm-hmm.
differences are.
Depending.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that you would find in many offerings. It's very common.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
It's
And
quite
Max is
common.
saying, "Hello, everyone. Hello, Max. How are
Hello,
Hey,
you?
Mark,
Max. Welcome
how are
aboard,
you, man?
Welcome aboard." For sure.
Max. Share with
Cool.
us some ideas on open source and communities. Okay, so I'm
Yeah.
looking at a page. I'm looking at a page that gives me the names of all the. Uh, well, I thought I had it open here. Just give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I had a page here that gives me a list of all the AI communities, the best communities for artificial intelligence. Let me share this with you guys, and we can pick some
Wow.
names from there
This is good.
and add this to our mind map. And then our audience can come back to us as well and share their findings. Um, it says best communities for artificial intelligence and machine learning 2023. So let's see who are named in here. Okay, join the AI Together Discord server. Oh, learn AI Together. Okay, that's a community. Oh, I did not know.
Learn AI community.
Learn AI Together community. Interesting, isn't it? They have a Discord server.
They are from the Toward AI. They their own
Toward.
community.
Mhm.
They have a Facebook group, DeepNet group, artificial
Mhm.
intelligence and deep learning Facebook community.
Okay, on Reddit, there are two channels: Learn Machine Learning and Machine Learning. These are supposed to be, and there are some additional ones: Artificial Intelligence and Artificial on Reddit. So they are online communities. So should we say communities? We should say include Reddit in it
Mm-hmm.
instead of mentioning any subreddits or any of specific ones, because that's like a high level abstraction, right? Quora.
Quora, yeah,
Oh,
deep
Quora
learning
is
dot
a
Quora.
yeah. Quora is a community, and it has a good machine learning subset in it.
Machine learning, deep learning dot Quora dot com.
I see. All tech is human on stack. Responsible tech community Slack group.
Okay.
Learn AI community. What is that? Oh, they have a Discord group as well. Join AI. Okay, that's the same one. Okay, so I don't know if you
Super
found
good.
many interesting ones on that list, but we did find a few which were useful, right? So I think it
Yeah.
was a good starting point. How
Mm-hmm.
about looking for the next one?
Sure. Uh, let's us talk about the LLMs and let's show let us show what we have tried so far.
Yes, yes, you're right. So why don't we pause the communities for a second and now go focus more on something close to LLMs, and then it takes us to GPT, prompt engineering, and that brings us to semantic kernel. So, should we hand this over to our in-house expert, a resident expert, Hugo, who has been playing with semantic kernel?
Actually, I just did some getting started things here, but maybe it's
Uh-huh.
interesting for people who is listening us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Since
absolutely.
prompt
Do you
engineering
want me to
is
transfer? Do you want me to transfer the share control to you so you can start sharing your screen and showing us some stuff?
yeah, sure.
Okay,
Uh,
so we can look into the mind map another time. For now, we have Hugo showing us the magic that he's been working on.
I don't know how is it. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yeah, maybe increase the font size a couple of points if you don't mind. Control plus plus. Yeah,
Sure.
same with your ID as well, but we'll let you know. Perfect. That's very legible.
Okay, so since prompt engineering have been in a hype these days, I found out actually someone invited me to take a look on the semantic kernel in the group, uh, in the Discord, I think, and I feel a bit curious about that. Actually, if prompt engineering is something unfamiliar for you, it's a way to use tools like ChatGPT and start creating a prompt or creating a questions and and create a pipeline of those questions to get a better result. So you have to, since we have a lot of different LLM models, and yeah, instead of just using for general questions is to understand which how can I write those questions to actually get into some good results, because depending on your prompt it may reply with something okay, something not useful responses, or something that is very valuable for your whatever you are doing for your business. And yeah, so people are starting to figure out how they can actually prompt things that your model can work better and give you better answers.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we can do this prompt with REST APIs or some yeah, some browsers APIs, and or you can program your application with HTTP client to do that for you. But semantic kernel is an SDK that you can install on your application, and there is some standards, and they resolve to you all the integration stuff. Just giving the, for example, here as this semantic kernel, it does integrate with ChatGPT API or Azure API, and you can just let me go here to the example in Python. You can just give him the API key and the organization ID, or if you're using OpenAPI from Azure, you can give the endpoint, deployment name, and the API key, and it's already integrated with your model, and then you can start using, since it is a development kit. In Python, for example, you can just start in using the API implemented in Python here, just as you would be sending some requests for the API and getting the results. And I will show some differences here yet. So here's an example of it does create an instance of the kernel, and you can create a prompt here and execute the prompt, and it will return to you the result of this execution. So here he asked, give me a too long, don't read exactly 5 words of all these texts that he just sent to the prompt, and the API gives the result of that. So start to be very simple here, but you can create a lot more sophisticated prompts over this API. So I think the best way to take a look here, actually, it does make sense for you guys. I wish to hear. Could you follow me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what they give a lot of different names here. I think money had some issue. Here he's back. Hey, money.
Sorry, I had to do this because my audio was going funny, so I had to restart the session. But it now works. Yeah, that'll be great. So I see I shared this link, and I think we should share this with the audience so they will know what a
Yeah,
semantic kernel is
sure.
and
Here.
where it sits in the life cycle of what we are trying to do.
Yeah. I think you have some issue with the video, money. Oh yeah, now
Yeah,
you are
when I
that.
restart, it switches to the other video.
Good.
Yeah, it's
Good.
all sorted now. Good. So yeah, so I
Okay.
was saying that if
Hmm.
you share that link of what semantic kernel is, that'll give people a context of what you're trying to do, and maybe you can give us like a run, like from your command prompt, run like a couple of
Yeah.
commands to run your app, and then maybe show your code a little bit later. And then if
Sure.
there's time, Pedro can also show his local chat GPT, which which you could start probably asking a question now. So in four
Yeah.
minutes time you
We
get an
won't reach
answer,
the
Pedro.
all the content we have. Yeah. So okay. Um, just a couple more instructions here. They are calling it an AI orchestration tool, and they use already the semantic kernel as a middleware to create the copilot, for example, for that GitHub copilot, and yeah, it is the glue for the applications with the models in a way that you can just import the SDK and start using. It's a great way to actually getting started with all this prompt engineering. And although I have lots of discussion over the future of prompt engineering, I think there are lots of pros and cons, and I don't know if it will be rest for a long. But in the moment, it is something that is debated a lot in the community. So uh, I think I won't go through the examples here, the life cycle here. I will just share the link. You can access it on the link and see more details about the semantic kernel. But one thing that maybe it's interesting is that I created a very simple example, a POC of semantic kernel. How do I use it? And to help you getting started with this project, and you can just install. You don't have to read all this documentation. You can just install it with Python and start using it. There are some prompts I created as examples. So you you the only thing that you have to do is to create an open API account and create a .env file and put the API key and the org ID, and then you can just run your locally this CLI prompt CLI and tell what you want and the topic that you wanted to answer. So I created some commands here. If you say trade of use microservice or monolith, it will just translate to I'm trying to decide if I should use microservice or monolith. Give me a list of pros and cons to help me decide why should I take or not this decision. So it's a very, very simple examples. I create some examples here that it just put your topic into the string here of the message, and it will give you the answer. Let me just clean up here and go to my VS Code so I can show you some samples.
And this is your example we're gonna run in OpenAI, right? Using OpenAI.
Yes, sure. I will run on OpenAI. I don't have the Azure OpenAI version.
All right.
I haven't even tested the Azure version,
Mhm.
but yeah, it was just to have some interesting results here. Let me just clear my prompt here, and yeah, how can I share the screen? Oh, I think Money is having difficult times with the platform now.
Yeah.
Hey, Money, are you back?
I was going to ask before you get started. I was going to ask if you go back to the README, can
Yeah.
you tell us how you came across the template of? Maybe you can open the README in VS Code itself. If you click on the README on the left hand side, yeah,
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
and
I was
maybe
looking for it on the process.
yeah, you can can you open this in the preview mode? If you do right mouse
Yeah,
click, I
yeah,
think you
sure.
no, on the top right corner, there's a preview. Yeah, perfect. So if you scroll down a little bit, can you tell us how you came across this template of questions? Because it's really
Ah,
interesting that you've got these keywords and then you have a template of question, and then you can just type in the topic
that's
and it fills it out for you. So is there like a standard that it expects? Because if you write this in another way, then it is not optimal, right? If you write it in by
um,
hand, the same question, whereas here you're making it easy by following a standard. That is the
mhm.
most optimum way to ask the large language model about something, and whatever that something is, you fill in the blank, right?
Yeah, you're right. So you can start experimenting a lot of these prompts. But here I haven't went through some optimization of those prompts. I just give some really simple examples that we can use. Actually, there was someone shared about those ideas, and I just but in Portuguese, and I translated them and tried to use here. I
I
should be
see. So you
referencing
got
him.
this. Yeah, you
now
got
now
this
you
from.
remind me that I should be referencing him, and yeah,
You
it
can,
was
yeah,
just
you can.
just
You
that.
can cite the person where you got the ideas from. So,
Yeah,
so
you're right.
they already did the sort of experimentation to find out what would be a good text to ask, and then
Hmm.
you just
Hmm.
took that over and made it your own template, and now you're using that. Because
Yes,
again, when you have translated into English, unless you experiment and find out, you wouldn't know if still this is an optimal way to ask, right?
yes, sure, sure.
Okay,
and
that's good
and
to know. Yeah,
probably yeah, and yeah, you're right. So yeah, that's the point about engineering the prompt, right? You have to see what is the optimal way to ask things. Here
yeah,
it was only a very simple examples we can get from that,
yeah,
and yeah,
yeah. And how quick is the response if you do this
uh,
with this? It's actually you have it configured that it is connecting to the online systems using the API keys, or how is it working?
yeah,
You're
it is
connected to
already
both OpenAI and
verified.
Azure.
Yeah, it is. No, it's not on Azure. Azure, it's on
OpenAI.
OpenAI. So I'm
Okay,
already using the OpenAI key,
I see. So
and
so if you
yeah,
scroll up a little bit in the README, I think it would help for the audience to put an or in between the OpenAI and Azure, because Otherwise, it looks like you need all the 5 parameters. You don't
Oh
need all
yeah,
five,
you're
right?
right.
You either need the first two or the last three, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a small thing. So okay, I understood now. So
Uh,
you're using the OpenAI. Yeah, perfect.
I think
Yeah, yeah, perfect,
that's good. Good thing
perfect.
to
Yeah.
update.
So yeah, so you are currently using OpenAI, and that's perfect. And how quickly
Yeah.
does the response come back?
Yeah. So it doesn't. It's not instant, but it also doesn't take so much. So let's think about something we can trade off. Can you
Mhm.
guys give me some ideas here?
Ideas. Trade-off is uh, refactor now or later. Oh,
Well, so I do pre-message here. I'm trying to decide if I should refactor now or later.
yeah, this is an interesting one because I have these conversations with my colleagues, and I have a different opinion on it than they do. But that's how it is. Okay, the text is getting it a bit hidden away. Do you mind making the window a bit
Oh
bigger,
yeah, you're right.
or moving our
Moving our faces to the
yeah,
right
moving
here.
our avatars to the top? Maybe you
Okay,
can do
let me.
that since you have the control panel.
Okay, let me see here. But
Perfect.
also, uh, is the font okay or?
Yeah, maybe a
Yeah, it's
couple
okay.
of font size bigger if the terminal can be increased. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so that's
Okay.
really good. Okay, pros. Refactoring now can help you identify and fix any potential issues before they become more serious. Improve the code base's readability and maintainability. Reduce the amount of time needed to make changes in the future. Improve the code's performance. Perfect. So, are you literally printing this as it comes in, or do you format it yourself?
No, I just print it as it comes.
Okay.
Comes.
Then cons of refactoring now can be it's time consuming and may take away from your other tasks, introduce new bugs or issues that weren't present before, can be difficult to do if the code is complex or if it's a lot of dependencies, costly if the code needs to be written from scratch. It doesn't have what I'm actually looking for, and a couple of things it's saying there is debatable
Hmm.
Okay.
in the cons.
Yeah, but yeah, for
It's a
this
basic
kind of
answer.
topic, yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's
So
very
so
easy to use. Yeah, go ahead.
so it's not nothing to do with your prompt engineering. It's just the
Yeah, sure.
content that is behind
I
it.
got it. Yeah,
Yeah. I think if you asked it in another way,
maybe it should be different. Yeah. Actually,
well,
I
actually,
created this. I can
I want to
ask
frame
as
it. Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
Can I ask the same question but differently? Okay. Or you want to ask a new question?
You can ask the same question, but I can prompt exactly what you want.
What is the
In
question
this,
mark doing?
yeah,
What is the question mark for? You put a question mark there.
yeah. So the question mark is I don't have any prompt pre-configured prompts. I want to
Prepared.
write everything here. So you can actually ask what in the
Ah, okay. It will
what way
use
you
its
want to ask.
own.
Yeah,
Right,
but this
right.
is something I created. Okay, not something that that is semantic kernel's feature.
Oh, that's really good. So, uh, actually, you want to say uh, delay in refactoring, delay refactoring
Delay refactoring.
versus immediately refactoring. Immediately, you spelled it slightly wrong, huh?
Immediately.
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 Yeah.
Huh?
Okay. Do you
Supposing.
need to put a question mark at the end of the line?
Sorry?
Do you need to
No.
put? Okay, perfect. Now let's ask. Let's see what happens.
I just it's just explaining this.
Okay, immediate refactoring is whenever they said refactor. Okay, so this is still lacking the. the substance of the subject. Maybe hasn't been trained long enough on that
Mhm.
subject matter. Cool.
Yeah.
So that's really good what you've done. So by putting a question mark, you don't use a template. You just give it a question, and it'll decide how to answer it.
Yes.
Nice,
So
nice.
this is a very simple example that you can getting started with semantic kernel, but
Mhm.
also it's very helpful to ask questions to ChatGPT without having to open ChatGPT on the browser. It's much
Yeah,
more
yeah,
direct way to interact with that.
yeah.
And yeah, I think there's much more uses here. But just to give you, I just shared the open source there. If you want to contribute with some improvements or you have some better way to to do the prompts,
So
but
is that
it's
all
very
that there is in the code?
sorry.
Is that all that there is in the code? You have got the commands.py, which has got all
Yes,
the different.
exactly,
Yeah, can you open up the
exactly.
commands.py for us and show us?
Yeah, the command is only the strings.
Ah, I see.
I
Your
was planning
templates.
to go through
Yeah, your
that. Yeah,
templates
it's
are
a
in there. Perfect.
template, and yeah, I just get the topic and paste to the template to the command,
Oh, very good.
and yeah, and I just use the kernel and call the prompt of this kernel
And then you print
and
the
giving the
response.
text. So it's
Hmm.
really straightforward way to
Yeah,
use,
it's very simple
and
and it looks
Very
good
immediately
as
good.
well.
you can immediately add the power of AI inside your application with that,
Mhm.
and the difference by just using ChatGPT here you have a whole application that you can add whatever information you have, whatever data that you can pre-process to make it work.
Nice.
Very good.
Very good.
Yeah,
So
this.
yeah, go
So
ahead.
if I am understanding correctly, so the idea is to make it easy to use the prompts to in your application.
Yeah,
E-
Yes.
e- Even easier than calling the API
Yeah.
directly, right?
yeah.
There's
So
a
I mean,
feature that I haven't. Sorry, Manny.
yeah, go
There's a
on.
feature that I haven't explored yet. That in this semantic kernel, you can create a context, keep a context in memory,
Aha.
and on top of that, you can ask questions and add those contexts and keep asking the question with inside those contexts. So that's
Mm.
something interesting. I haven't yet explored that,
Mhm.
but yeah, there are a couple of
And
advantages by using it, and you also don't be um, um, dependent of the specific APIs to call and use those the models. So go ahead, Money. Sorry.
yeah, so two questions here I have is that one is a comment, one is a question. Is I think by writing a program like this, you have made it even more easier to ask a question without having to think on how to frame the question, because you have your set number of templates supported by
Yeah.
commands.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And even if you don't want to use any of those templates, you still have the question mark, which will take you to the old way of doing it, and
Mhm.
you can programmatically ask these questions. The only thing is, on your account, is there going to be a history of all the questions you asked, or is that going to disappear
Good
when you open up
question.
your
I
OpenAI account?
think, let's see. Good question. I think I don't have the history of those questions that I
Yeah,
did.
maybe because it needs to have a paid account to have a history, something of that sort.
Yeah,
Um,
let me take a
the
look
other
here.
the other thing I the
Meanwhile,
other thing I
yeah.
wanted to ask was, in that context feature, is the context, again, can you save the context so you can revisit it again, or is it only valid for that session?
Um, I believe that it's valid for that session, but
Hmm.
you can recover it programmatically. So you can save
I
it
see.
and recover it programmatically. But
Ah, got it.
yeah,
Yeah.
to be honest, I haven't went through that feature, but probably it works like that. That's the idea
Now,
behind having it, um, and as a development kit.
so that means you can actually start a conversation, chat GPT, teach it something, and
Yeah.
then ask it the same thing back.
Yes. Yes,
because
exactly,
you'll teach it
exactly. That's it.
something on
That's
top of
indeed.
what it already knows,
Hmm.
and then you ask it questions, so it'll mix the information you've given it plus its own information, and then the answer you get from that is on top of what you've taught it. Okay, that's really good. And then you can keep querying that, and then when you're finished, you shut down the session.
Yes, yes.
Okay, there
So
is it, context.
yeah, the whole idea that I haven't went through that, but yeah,
Mm,
the life cycle is exactly that, and we have the context that is live in the whole life cycle of the question, and that is the maybe the power of this using this SDK. If not, you have to program this thing to keep the context uh, and give reuse it and there make questions over the same in the same context. So, but yeah, I haven't yet explored this part, so I can tell in details how it works, even the
Hmm.
API that it has implemented. But the idea is exactly that. We can
mm.
create a context, and it already managed by the semantic kernel.
That's really cool. Actually, I've got interested in two things: the recall memory and graph API. So
Hmm.
we don't need to go into that just now, but it'll be an interesting one to discuss. Cool. I think this is very interesting, short and sweet. But now, can you share it with everybody, the link to your repo, so we can? Oh, you've already done that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yes.
yeah,
I
done
think
it.
I've starred your repo, and I forked it. No, I haven't forked it, but I can fork it. Uh, right. Description. Hugo's POC on semantic kernel. So maybe I can add the memory or recall feature and share it back with you,
Hmm.
and then you can merge it with yours
Yeah.
and push it to semantic kernel. No, I'm joking. Semantic kernel doesn't want our contributions. Well, maybe we have different contributions to make to semantic kernel.
Yeah.
Cool. I think. What do you say? This calls for sharing our books and other things that we normally do,
Hmm.
as we are already coming to a close to the hour, and we've gone a little bit over the hour, which is
Yeah,
still fine.
we
But
we
I'm
passed
quite
a little
interested
about
in
the
what you
time.
showed, yeah, and would like to see more of it. Maybe we could have another session where then
Hmm.
Pedro can show his local GPT that he's been working on,
Yeah,
and then you can show us what you need to do, minimum prerequisites and all that.
for sure.
Yeah.
Great.
In the private GPT, right?
No, I don't need to show it now. Let's no,
Oh
don't
yeah,
show
yeah,
it
yeah. I,
now.
I, I will just make the call for if you want to know more about private GPT. Let's talk about that on the next session,
Yeah,
and Pedro will bring some examples for that. And
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I see money. We can actually go through the books. Actually, today I would like to shift a little bit the go a little bit different from the traditional
mhm.
and share some content that doesn't need to be actually a book. So and today, since I talk about semantic kernel, I do think that reading if you got interested to look on it, it is something that it's used by the Microsoft Copilot, and yeah, it might be very useful for you. I recommend to talk about to take a look on the documentation of semantic kernel. I'm sharing the overview here with this graph and lots of details over that. Uh, and yeah, how about you guys?
Yeah, I'd like to share this the link of the deep learning AI short courses. They have free courses about the topic we're talking today. They We can see building systems with ChatGPT API, ChatGPT prompt engineering for developers, LangChain for LLM application developers. This LangChain was the one that private GPT is created on top of, uh, and how diffusion models work. So yeah, this guy, the Andrew Nig, is one of the best guys in the world about about artificial intelligence, and then I think and he has a very good professor way, teacher way of giving the courses. So
Ah,
I would recommend you to take a look.
LangChain is created by Andrew
No,
Ng?
no, no,
No.
no. I'm talking
Okay.
about the courses,
The
deep
course.
learning AI
Okay. Ah.
courses. Did you send the link to the
Yeah,
audience?
I sent the link.
Yeah,
Short courses,
this
deep
link.
learning. Yeah. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, that's it.
Actually, LangChain that you mentioned, it's compared to the to semantic kernel. So it is to give to fulfill the demand of the LangChain. They
Oh,
create a semantic kernel. It is,
yeah.
but
So
okay. So how
looks
about
like
you?
Semantiano is a competitor.
Yeah, maybe. How
Maybe.
about you, Money?
So I actually have a physical book and also a digital book to share.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea to share both of them. Um, so there is a book I came across many years ago through a professor called "Machine Learning is Fun," and I'm going to share the link. And it's not like a traditional book; where it's like physical copy. The book is more like you download a virtual machine and you download a PDF. In fact, inside the virtual machine, you will find the book. You load the virtual machine in virtual PC, and you do all your learning in the virtual machine using the PDF that is given you. And of course, you have support from the author. The author has written blog posts. Uh, the book is fairly expensive compared to other books you would buy. It's anywhere between $100 and $200. I can't remember the exact price, but the content is really good, and he keeps updating the content, and he gives everything through a virtual machine. There are libraries he refers to, they are on GitHub, but they are not on PyPy. So you have to compile and build that library in the virtual machine. That's what makes his book very unique. And he's written everything in his PDF file, and they're pretty good, and it's very well structured, and you can learn a lot of different things. In fact, my there's a better NLP library that I wrote a few years ago, was inspiration from after using this book. In fact, I mentioned that um, on my site as well, on my GitHub repository. So that's one of the books I recommend, and there's the other one which I was going to recommend um, before uh, you go propose this new idea, and that's this book called Natural Language Processing with PyTorch. It's a very good book. It's yeah, it's this one here. Uh, I highly
Mhm.
recommend it to get started with you know getting your hands in dipped into natural language processing and deep learning. So it's a good book. These two are so machine learning fun is really good if you want to get yourself acquainted with different aspects of machine learning and in a practical way. Plus, the blog posts are really good, and I think he looks like he has a second edition, and I think I had the first edition.
Cool, cool, really cool stuff here. Very different format of
Yeah,
reading a book, right?
this exactly. This is more like practical way of doing it. Like if you read this book, you'll have to look online for examples and maybe you put some code. There is some code stuff here, and it may or may not work, right? Whereas that book comes with your virtual machine, and the guarantee is that it's going
Paper
to work.
don't compile.
Yeah,
Good. Okay, great. Yeah, great, great. So yeah, I think that's it for today. Sorry. Let me just share the link from the book that Money just showed us here. The PyTorch natural language processing with PyTorch, and yeah. So yeah, I think that's it. Any question in the end? Nope. Great. So, okay, guys. I hope you enjoy the session, and yeah, have fun with these tools. I really excited to see the private GPT working with Pedro, since
Yeah.
that's a really um, uh, a big concern that we have about models, right? To run on a closed and a safe way, so it doesn't give any or any sensible thing doesn't go away on or doesn't go inside those models. And yeah, we have seen some news about that. So that's interesting way to use those tools, those models too. And yeah, any last words from you guys?
No, I think it has been an exciting event. I will share the mind map image as soon as our session is finished via Twitter and other social media, even on LinkedIn. And so you can see the latest version with the new changes we've made. And please feel free to come back to us with corrections, changes, new things you want to add there, things that are missing, and we'll be happy to add them to it. And thank you, Hugo, for sharing with us Semantic Kernel and your POC. It's really interesting. I think it's a good foundation to start working on and build something on top of it and share it back to the community. So yeah, thank you very much to the audience as well for collaborating with us, communicating with us, and interacting with us on this session and making it more lively. And we will see you next time.
Yeah, thank you all. See you next time.
See ya. Bye bye.
See ya. Bye.
I think
You remove it.
yeah, I don't know what's happening, but it's
Oh,
always
I think it's still live.
still live. Still loading here. Let me refresh.